Today I'm making an artisan loaf of bruschetta and Asiago cheese bread.
Well, hi guys, welcome back to Linda's Pantry. And today I'm excited to bring you along for another sourdough discard bread recipe. This is still using sourdough discard, which I fed this morning, and it rose up quite a bit, looks like in the bowl here. So it's active. I'm gonna use it in my bread. I'm lessening the water, but I'm also putting yeast in there. I need this to rise up to the occasion tonight because I'm baking this off for a lunch tomorrow. So I wanna make a little bit different recipe just because, you know, I've got some Asiago cheese that we bought a big bag of it, and I don't want it to go bad. So I'm gonna use that. That is a nice salty bite for cheese, and it makes a beautiful bread. But I'm also going to use a bruschetta seasoning inside when I make this. So come on in and let me show you how easy this is. And it's my basic bread recipe with a few changes. That's it. There's the added discard, number one. And then, you know, the seasoning and the cheese is different. You can change this up however you want. So come on in and we're gonna make a beautiful loaf of bread to take to a lunch. All right. Okay, so super easy. First thing I'm gonna do is get my flour in here, and I start with 3.5 cups of flour, roughly, okay? I say roughly because, well, sometimes I don't even scrape this off. You can, but I don't think it's necessary because I'm gonna add flour when I do my kneading, a little bit of kneading. Okay, 3 and roughly a half. Looks like a half to me. All right. I think that we get too caught up in the fact that we think that bread has to be exact or it won't come out. And that's just, I just don't feel like that's true. So my yeast, I proofed in a half a cup of water, and look at how much foam, almost 1/4 of a cup of foam from that, how active that yeast is. Awesome. But before I start, I'm gonna add my salt, and I use a fine sea salt for my breads, and I feel like you need a fair amount of salt. That's about a teaspoon, and I want 2.5 teaspoons. Okay, we'll say that's 2.5. 2.5 teaspoons of salt. And the bruschetta seasoning has a little bit of salt in it as well. So I'm gonna put it throughout the dough, and it just has a wonderful flavor. It's herbaceous, it's got a little bit of salt, it's got a little bit of onion. It's just very good. And I think it will go really, really well with the Asiago cheese. Okay, now we're gonna do our discard and our yeast. Yeast water first. That's a half a cup. Usually I use 3/4 of a cup if I don't use discard, but I want this discard. Now, if this dough ends up too wet, I'm gonna add more flour. And if it looks like it's gonna be too big of a loaf, I'll make 2 loaves, so I can make 2 small loaves. And this is the Danish whisk. You just want that flour to really incorporate with the liquid, and oh, it looks like it's gonna be just perfect. You want a nice shaggy dough. I do have my proofing oven on, so it can go in there, and yep. So we really just want it to grab all that dry flour, and if I had too much dry flour, I'd add a little bit more warm water, but I don't want to do that if I don't have to. I think this is just perfect. Perfect, yes. Okay, and I don't have to oil this bowl or anything, and that's a great dough already. It's very, it's kind of sticky, but like I said, it's shaggy. But it's not a mess, you know, it's not so wet that you're gonna end up with an issue. And we're gonna cover this with plastic wrap, and let this proof until it's doubled in size, and I'll be back.
Okay, I almost forgot to turn the camera on. I started pulling this out of the bowl. Look at this. Look at this. Can you see? I know the lighting now at this time of day is getting there, but I'm pulling this and the strands are just right there. What? Yes. Okay. I'm gonna get this out of my bowl. And I really like these bowls because I can scrape on them. I don't know, for whatever reason, I can clean out one of these Tupperware bowls a little bit easier. And I'm not sure why, but it really doesn't matter. One way or another, I'm gonna scrape and and this smells so good with the Bruschetta seasoning in there. I'm not gonna add any more. I really feel like there's plenty. Right now, I'm gonna be concentrating on the Asiago cheese. Oh yeah. Okay, look at that. It's herby. Can you see? Can you see all the herbs and speckles in there? So this is kind of a knead, if you will. We're gonna get this, oh, maybe I can do this in one loaf. This would be good if I can get this in one loaf. So I do want to knead it a little bit. We didn't do a whole lot, and it's not getting a long ferment, which would actually develop that gluten a little bit more. So we'll just keep working that. I don't have a lot of flour on the board, but get this. And now we're gonna roll this out. So I'm gonna have to let this rest. Let's get this into a ball. Pull up some of the flour off the board. Get that into a nice ball. I'm gonna let this rest for probably, ooh, look at that spring back. Yeah, can you see that? So I'm gonna let this rest, because if I try to roll it out now and put the cheese in there and do all that, it's not gonna work. So it's gonna fight me. So I wanna, oh yeah, this is a nice springy dough. I wanna let this rest for at least 10 minutes. And then I can roll it out like a cinnamon roll kind of deal. Put the Asiago cheese and do my thing and throw it in that hot Dutch oven that's in the oven right now. All preheated, ready to go at 450 degrees. Okay, so this dough has rested. I kind of pushed down on it a little bit to see, and yes, I think it's fine. It's still springing back a little bit, but I think I can get it out the way I need it. And this is gonna be awesome. It's gonna be a great loaf of bread. And so having your Dutch oven preheated in the oven, look at that. Stretch it out. It's still springing back a little bit, but not much. You get the idea. If you want to make a huge deal, feel free. But right now, we're gonna go ahead and get the Asiago cheese. I'm putting plenty on here. The herbs are, as I said, are in there. I don't want to add any more because the cheese is gonna add a salty bite and a pretty color. This cheese turns kind of an orangey color on the outside. We're gonna add some to the top of the loaf as well. So I have a piece of parchment that I'll be using to drop this down. So now I'm just gonna roll and get that all rolled up. If you feel like you need some flour, then feel free. And tuck and roll. You want this roll pretty tight, only because you don't want big air pockets in there. Yep, this is perfect. This is going to be a great loaf. So I have a 5-quart Dutch oven in there. Okay, guys got that? Get your snake all ready to go. Set that cheese aside. And we're going to cut it. Just like we've done in the past, if you've watched the other videos, you're going to cut this right down the center lengthwise. And then we're going to wrap it around itself. Look at that. And it opens all these layers of cheese. If you were doing like jalapeno and cheddar, you're opening up layers for that. So I'm going to scoot this onto, just because I know, well, maybe I'll just finish this. Okay. Pull it around to itself. And because that oven is so hot, put it on your parchment, right? That oven is so hot. This should spring up because of the steam and all that. And that's got quite a bit of cheese popping out. But I'm going to add a little bit more. What? Yeah. Because who doesn't want a bunch of cheese on their bruschetta and Asiago cheese bread? Okay. In the oven. The Dutch oven is in there preheating. I'm gonna take the lid, open it up, take the lid off, pop this in, put the lid on, and it's gonna bake. And honestly, I just bake it until I can see that I've got this beautiful brown crust and I can smell bread baking. I'll try to time it for you. All right, I'll be back. So I just took this bread out of the oven. Look how beautiful this is. It's a gorgeous loaf. And I don't want to, it's still screaming hot. I'm not going to taste this because this is for a lunch tomorrow, but let me just tell you, the whole house smells wonderful. And if I can possibly show you the bottom, let's see. There we go. Nice crusty bottom. And I'm just going to leave this set. You never want to cut into it when it's hot like this, or you're going to lose all the steam and it'll dry out. Plus it'll gummy up your crumb. But when this is completely cooled in an hour or two, I'll put it in a paper or parchment bread bag, and that's how I'll transport it tomorrow. So I hope if you enjoyed this, you'll give me a thumbs up, and I hope that you'll use your sourdough discard. As many different ways as you can think of, you can use it. So this will have, it won't have a distinct sourdough flavor, but it's a great way to use your discard. And you're getting all those great benefits of a sourdough starter or a fermented starter that regular bread just doesn't have. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye. Happy baking. Happy bread baking. Everyone loved this bread. I hope you do too, and I hope you try it. Please subscribe and give me a thumbs up.